Welcome back to Extra Medium Skills. This week I'm going to be building a subframe, doing some wiring, and making some brackets, mounting the radiator, and putting on some hoses. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. The race bike is coming along.
As you can see, I have the wiring harness laid out kind of where it's supposed to be. Blinkers and stuff, emission stuff that I don't need, I will be taking those out because I won't need them for racing. And then hopefully I can get this wiring harness in place where it should be. In order to get rid of the ignition key, I actually ordered this from Woodcraft. All it is just jumpers in between where the key would normally hook up and the single toggle switch on the right handlebar, and it makes that toggle switch operate as if it were both. It's very self-explanatory when you have these all in your hand. They only fit one, so you can't screw it up. Now I'm left with what I believe is for the left handlebar, and I think that's for the fan, but all the fuel area is hooked up in there. I'm just working my way back. I've gone ahead and hooked up some safety wire to the fairings. These are stock R3 fairings, and I know they're not going to fit perfectly, but I think I can make them work mostly. So what I'm doing now is just hooking up the other side in the back here, and then I'll see if I can kind of arrange this where it needs to go so that it won't interfere with handlebars, and maybe I can figure out where I can mount the dash. Well, that was pretty quick. So I figured out two things. One, the sides will work pretty well. Let's see if I can pull this all the way back. The sides will work pretty well. They kind of line up. However, I run into issues up here. I run into interference with my controls. So I think the solution is going to be cutting this. So I'm going to cut here in the nose, and then the other side as well. I think this will also have to come off because that will hit there. But the sides look good. For the subframe, I know that it needs to be, I need to sit somewhere in here. So it needs to be from here to at least there of good support, and then from here back, have to have it at least past the middle line of the tire. So that's 25 inches. So let's get cutting and welding. Okay, here's my two pieces of 24-inch steel, my rod ends. All right, right there is where I'm gonna bend it. And do that on both of them. There. Make a cross tube for that. And then there. That will have my butt supported. And I can work down to those. Other than that, there's nothing really important probably back here other than a couple of wires. So now that I have this set up in place, I'm using a stock Speed Triple tank to tell me where the seat should be. And I'm comfortable with that. So now I have it set up in place, and I've gone ahead and cut a support and welded on the nut at the bottom for the rod end. I'll go ahead and hook this on. So I've got this set up, and that's welded in. Actually pretty happy with that weld. That's kind of where the seat will go. I've run out of this steel tubing, so I've got to run to the store and get some. I'll show you a little trick that I use to make sure I get the right size. Make an indentation on my wrist, and then I outline it with Sharpie, and that's the size that I get. That way I don't have to remember what size it is. Right, so now that's in as well. So both sides are triangulated, and I feel good about that. Now I'm gonna move on to the tank mounting. So I've gotten this crossbar welded in. I'm gonna put this small little riser up like that. So with that little bracket finished, I'm gonna bolt this on here and start work on the front portion that'll hold the nose port. So this little portion will be kind of interesting. I want it to come down, straight, and then curve. So only curve at the ends. So I made myself a little template there. See how that works. So there's this bracket. Go there and there. Excellent. Got it? All right. Fuel pump. So I took the injectors and everything off. Oh, there's that spacer. Yay. Took all that off and set the tank over there by the 450 bike. So that way I've got a lot of room here. What I'm gonna focus on is figuring out where all this bundle of wires are gonna go. I think I'm going to run most of them up to the front here in this open space that I'll have. But I also need to work on the airbox and getting that situated in this area right here, and also extending back up into the subframe area. I want as much volume in there as I can get. That seems to be pretty important for these R3 motors, volume of the airbox. Okay, so this is what I've come up with. I believe this is probably where I'm gonna have things. So all of the controls and everything can stay hidden and pressed right up against the side there. All the fuel injection stuff goes right there. Everything else rolls around the bottom. And on this side, got all the wires around. You can have the ECU and voltage regulator on a bracket along with whatever this is. I don't know even if I need this, but these two things sitting on a bracket out here away from the heat of the engine and close to the airflow. But moving to the other side, I need to get the other bracket made for the left side of the bike. So I'm gonna make that out of aluminum. I'll start with a template made out of cardboard and cut it out of aluminum. Now with that bracket in, I'm gonna move on to hanging a bracket for the radiator and get that in place. And now I will use that as just a hanger, and then these side ones will position it. There we go. View from under the front. This one's centered. Push up against it. I got a bracket here for that. And make that go back and touch there. All right, more drilling and tapping. And I still don't know what this is, but let's assume it's important. thanks for sticking with me through another episode of this build. I'm pretty excited for the R3 powered bike. I hope you tune in next time. Please subscribe and share this video. Got a lot of good views on the last one. I hope that this one does better. And I hope that I'm entertaining you and maybe even showing you what can be done with very little money and just extra medium skills. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.